So here we are again, and now we start with our next speaker, Thorsten Steinbach. He's CPO of Verivox. A big applause for Thorsten. Thorsten, please come on stage.
Thank you very much.
So it's great to have you with us as partner. So you can go there to the stage. So I'm very much looking forward to your talk. It's really interesting to see what you are doing at the team of Verivox. Probably we find some time after your slot. If you leave 5 minutes or so, we can talk a little bit about your company. So the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. And I want directly to start with a confession to make. But before I do this, only short, I have a question for you. And it's about prioritization. And the answer is a little bit depending where I put my most focus on in the presentation. So, when we think about prioritization, the question for me to you is, do you have discussions with your stakeholders about prioritization? And there are, in my opinion, 3 options you have here. The first one is, no, I don't have any discussions at all. The second one is, B, yes, here and there are some discussions, some more, some less. Or C, yes, I have regularly a lot of discussions. So my question to you right now is one of the 3 choices. So please raise your hand for A. You have no discussions at all with your stakeholders about what you should do next, what you should build next. No one. Okay, so nobody is working alone. This is good. So the second option would be, here and there I have some discussions. Anybody, some discussions? Some, yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. And the other one, they are all lots of discussions about what should done, build next, right? Okay, B and C seems to be quite equal. So thank you very much. And I said, I want to make a confession, and this is about what I got wrong in product development. Roughly a little bit more than 10 years ago, I thought it was about doing what my superiors and stakeholders want. And what they usually want is, they want me to build bright and shiny, innovative features. And there's nothing wrong to talk with stakeholders about that, because stakeholders are one crucial, important part of our job. And there's nothing wrong about building features. But when you see, for example, Facebook at 2007, it was very clear and very simple. When you now see Facebook, it's pretty much complicated, in my opinion. So no offense to the Facebook guys, but it's feature after feature after feature. And what I think today is, features are totally fine. We have to do them, and it's very necessary to do them to be innovative. But on the other hand, we have to improve our existing products. And I want to talk with you about improving your existing product and the conversion rate step by step. By the way, I am Thorsten. Very nice to meet you here. I'm really passionate about understanding customers, what they dream, what they wish for, what they think, what they feel, in order to build the best products with the right messages. I have a background in psychology and economics and worked for big companies like DHL and founded tech startups and sold them. Right now, I'm Chief Product Officer, as mentioned before, at Verivox, and responsible for agile coaching, for the design, for research, and for product management. But as mentioned before, I really want to talk about, and I want to take you on a journey with me about what I mentioned before, and this is how can we improve for an existing product the conversion rate step by step. And there are dozens of approaches out there. Some are more suitable, some are less suitable. But one approach I want to share with you today, in theory and short, because I believe that I give you practice examples how we really did it at Verivox, what was working and what not. And this is the customer journey map, so that we are going through the customer journey map. So 2 parts, a short theory part, this is what we are having here, and then afterwards a short practice part. So the first thing you have to do when we're talking about customer journey maps and improving conversion rate, we have to be clear which steps we are tackling. Simple as that. Secondly, we have to understand, am I clicking right? Yeah. We have to understand what the quantitative data is. So 100% are coming in, 20% are dropping out, we have 80% left, and so on and so forth. Thirdly, we have to be clear about the qualitative data. This is usually customer user feedback, etc. So you have an emotion curve, for example, and you have these speech bubbles behind me, which are saying to you, hey, this is what our users, when we conducted interviews, etc., what they are saying, what problems do they have. And then when we know where is the problem and what is the problem, we build different solutions, test them, usually A/B, multivariate test, etc. And this is what you see here. You do experiments. You have results, negative, positive. And then you communicate it there. And you have the last part, which are learnings, statistics, other feedbacks, which you put here. This is all what we need for the theory part. So how exactly is it working at Verivox? We have a look at the following funnel. We are caring today about the broadband funnel. So we have different kind of products at Verivox. For all who don't know Verivox, by the way, Verivox is a two-sided marketplace, an online comparison platform, and it's about saving time and money. Money especially when you're comparing your contracts, for example, your electricity contract, your broadband contract, your car insurance contract, your mobile phone contract. You're comparing these contracts, and very likely everybody of you here in the room can check out verivox.de and save money. If not, feel free to come to me, then there's something wrong, to be honest. So, and the broadband comparison is when you're looking for a new internet tariff. So we're connecting through different kind of channels, like usual. So social media, by Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc., or SEA, SEO, TV, radio, email, whatever it is. Then we are coming to the landing pages, as usual, astonishingly. We're coming to the landing pages. And then you have to give us some data, and then you get results. And you're on the result page. Then you have some filter options, pretty much as often seen. You're choosing a tariff. You come to a summary page, where it is summarized. Then you say, oh, sounds good. I click for. And then you're coming at the end to a checkout page where you give your name, address, what you understand on a checkout page. And the last one is, yes, I want to do this. Thank you very much, the last page. And these are the next steps for you. Pretty simple. This is what I will talk about. So first of all, what was happening when we had a look at the quantitative data, we saw from the landing pages to the result page a dropout from roughly 60%. And this is huge. And when we see the 60%, we see, okay, there seems to be a problem or a lot of problems. And the question is, next one, of course, which kind of problem? So the quantitative data, which is for us usually Google Analytics, you can use Mixpanel, whatever it is, so a lot of tools out there. And then you have a clear funnel. So for us, as mentioned, 60% drop-off rate. So we have to understand it better why this is the case and why it's usually only happening when you talk to customers. And this is, they had a lot of problems, but one thing was, we don't trust your prices. Not at all, but they are slightly unsure about if their prices are real. And they are going to the providers and see, like, hey, does it fit? So now we had understand, and this is what here is, quantitative and qualitative data. We understand the user problem. In this case, 20% of the users were having this problem, based on in-depth interviews, based on service, etc. And I'm sure as I read the agenda, there are a lot of people who talk about product discovery, so I don't go into details into these kind of methods right now. I'm happy to discuss it afterwards, of course, what kind of methods we can use to evaluate the quantitative and the qualitative data. So then it's about the solution. We understood the problem, we built the solution. We all know this. What we did is we had the crazy 8, paper prototyping, then built it in Figma, decided for a solution, and this solution looks this way. We do it every time mobile first, by the way, because it's easier from mobile to desktop than the other way around. So what you can see here is, you see how much your tariff is costing you per month at Verivox and at the provider. And you see you save money, as mentioned before, in comparison to the provider. And you have the link that you can prove it. But the problem here was it was minus 3.5% on conversion rate. So less revenue at the end, because we earn our money when we got commission. So conversion rate multiplied by commission, simplified right now, there are more steps, but simplified is our revenue. So maybe it's not the best way to do it. Maybe there's a different way. And then we thought, okay, we interrupt the user journey. So maybe it makes sense to put out the link. So no link out. We did that one, and it was better. And by the way, we did it directly. So in short, all the cross-functional team, we shipped it. There were no huge discussions about that one. There were no huge research before because it was so simple to do. You don't have to do, in my opinion at least, every time huge research. Sometimes you can ship it and you have the live data. So there seems to be still a problem, and we weren't sure if it was in the solution or the problem. So what we did, okay, let's have a look once more. Let's talk to our customers. Let's have a survey. Let's have a benchmark analysis from our competitors, how they do things, not only in Germany, but in Europe or worldwide, what we can learn from them, what we can steal maybe, so how it's getting better. And based on this, we had the last solution, and it was plus 3.3% increase in conversion rate. And what you can see here, this is not a huge difference, but we're talking usually about, at the end, which these kind of improvements, about 7 digits of millions of revenue. So this is really important for us at the end. And it makes a huge difference, plus 3.3% or minus 3.5%. So to summarize it, what we have here, data, quantitative, qualitative, check. Problem understood, check. This one problem, there were other problems for the 60%, of course, check. What we then had, built the solution, check. Tested A/B multivariate, we use usually Optimizely. There are other tools out there, which are better or worse. And then you have your A/B multivariate test. One thing, what we had to learn in dozens of tests were it makes more sense to do a multivariate test in comparison to only A/B tests, because it's much more likelier that there's a solution you have. I won't go here into detail in terms of how much traffic you generate to make this test very, very valuable, or significance and making decisions under uncertainty, because this is a problem. These are problems in a lot of A/B or multivariate tests. But as well, we can talk very likely, or we can talk afterwards about that. So we have tested it. We have a positive result. Check, everything's done, right? I think there's one important part missing, and this is the communication part. And I try to explain why I think it's so important. So first of all, I think it's really important to have the communication with your team. One thing I like, which we weren't doing very often, but I would really appreciate if we're doing it more, is that we print it out, hang it on the wall. The whole team is before this huge journey, so it's so huge like this one here, for example. And then we are going through it step by step and understanding what is happening throughout the funnel, transparency and alignment. But it's not only your team, it is as well if you have your shareholders, but it's for sure your stakeholders. And when we're talking about one thing in specific, in this broadband example, we communicated this as well to our shareholders. Not every time when we make a test, but more like, I'll give you an example, more like this one. What you see here is, on the y-axis, is only examples of good results, positive results of our experiments we did only in broadband comparison. So we had roughly 30 products, this is one product, and this is what we're talking about there, beside the usual work we are doing. The x-axis you are seeing there is, first of all, the timing, so from January to December, and at the top and at the bottom you see the uplift, the cumulative uplift of the relative conversion rate. And this is something which is really important to me. There is a difference between relative conversion rate and the absolute conversion rate. The absolute conversion rate is triggered, so how it's developing, by a lot of factors. I will mention a few. So first of all, it's about traffic. If you have different channels, so especially your marketing guys, if they use different channels and target different audiences with your end customers, but as well business to business, then there are different people you're reaching out to. And they are behaving, of course, different to your solution and interact differently. So you can have different solutions, of course. But when you change the traffic mix, usually your CR, your conversion rate is influenced by it. Secondly, it's about the market. Usually we all operate in markets. And when we are operating in these markets, I give you an example for Verivox. For Verivox, one thing mainly is important for our end customers, millions of end customers, millions of contracts we switch for them every year. And it's one thing. And it's the saving potential they are having. So how much money they can save to spend it for things they would love more to spend on in comparison to electricity, or to car insurance, or to other insurances. And the saving potential is crucial. One example at 2022 was during the Russian aggression towards Ukraine. It was that the gas prices, some of you remember maybe, were extremely high. So what we usually have is, we have, only as an example, 10 euro you have to pay per month. Of course more, but 10 euro. And what we usually have is, you only have to pay 20% less, so you can save 20%, or you only have to pay 8 euro if you switch to this contract. Perfect, fine. But at this time you have to pay not 10 euro, but 20 euro. And we had a drop of conversion rate more than 90%. So conversion rate, and this is what I want to say, has traffic, has market influences, but as well, and this is what I was talking about, product development influences. It is influenced by product development activities, our activities. And why I think there's a difference between absolute conversion rate, for example, for these three things, traffic, market, product development, is in comparison to the relative conversion rate, which is measuring only your effort as a cross-functional product development team. So you can say this is really what you achieved. This is only your job. These 21% you see here At the top and right, at the bottom on the right, is only the effort of the whole cross-functional development team. And now you can say which kind of revenue you make more, exactly what you do additionally, what you contribute additionally. You can say it for sure. You have live data. Our colleagues in brand marketing, they don't have these things. They can't prove it 100% what they are doing, and it's for us. It's so impressive to have this, and so impressive to work with, and so impressive for stakeholders and shareholders to use it. So this is the difference between absolute and relative conversion rate. We use the relative conversion rate, as mentioned before, simplified, multiplied by commission from the providers. It's revenue minus marketing costs minus personal cost, EBITDA. And this is how we argue, and this is how it works for us very, very well, and we have a lot less discussions. I'm coming to the end. And there's another thing I want to point out at the end. Besides, when we use this approach to improve existing customer products and improve the conversion rate step by step, solve real customer problems, have more financial value generated and more company value generated, we have these things which are more ways of working which will benefit. First of all, we are a lot more data-driven. We don't have a choice when we use this approach. It has to be data-driven. Secondly, we solve real customer problems. We can't do it otherwise because it will show you in the data that this is wrong what you do. Then we have to prioritize, of course, these experiments against the other things. For example, new features, what we're doing. We have to put it in there. And at Verivox, we prioritize, and this was the hard way the last 3 years, absolutely the bigger topics only in terms of financial impact. So, because this is what every stakeholder is understanding. Every stakeholder understands when we're talking about revenue or profit. And from these operative metrics, we're able to come to these metrics. Always. I have never seen one case where it's not possible to do this. So thirdly, at the fourth point is, then we build a solution, and then we ship it, we test it, and then we see the results. So classical build, measure, learn approach, iteratively, or we pivot, we kill it, whatever are the results are showing us. So a more agile approach as well, only for buzzwords, but you have it here as well. Then, when the results are positive, we have a positive impact, check, and this is so important to communicate, because when you communicate this in a good way, you got more room to maneuver. For example, in terms of time. So they're coming not every day or every week or every month, because they trust you. They trust you that you're doing the right things, that you're doing a good job. They trust you because they saw it in live data and they understand it. And this is as well the way how we argument for new teams. When we want to have new teams because we think this is a good investment, we argue that way. On a financial perspective, it's much easier to talk with a CEO or CFO when you are speaking their language and you're earning more trust and therefore more room to maneuver. I wanted to take you on a journey. I hopefully got some insights which are interesting for you. So thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was at least some parts interesting. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions, get into conversations.
Thank you, Thorsten. Thanks for the detailed, interesting talk. It was great. So we have time for questions now. We should take the chance to dive a little bit deeper into the conversion optimization at Verivox. Who has questions? Great. So there is a mic.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Sonia.
Hi, Sonia.
I would love to know how are you exactly doing the A/B testing or the conversion rate improvement tracking? Because as you mentioned before, there might be lots of seasonal reasons or other things why the numbers could change, especially in a long journey that might be impacted by different experiments.
Fair point. So 2 answers, I would say so. The one thing is it impacted when you have experiments in parallel? This is the one thing. And the second thing would be seasonal effects, other variables we're having. So in terms of in parallel, this is not really often happening because we have, so of course, this is happening when we are talking about our landing page, so Verivox.de, for example, but this is usually not happening in the products. As mentioned before, we have a lot of products, and in these products, they're happening usually when so different tests, but not at the same pages. So you usually have no influence. So here, 1, 2, 3 people from Verivox, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And the second point is, are we influenced by seasonality or something like this? Of course, we have influences because different products have different seasonalities. Yeah, this is true. What we are doing are 2 things. First of all, when we're doing this multivariate test, we're usually excluding these variables as well, because when you're doing it in parallel, and this is, I think, the whole sense from A/B multivariate test, and not doing it first one test and then the other test, because then you can't exclude it, then you have usually the result that you excluded. But on the other hand, it is what we should do maybe more is that we are having the test half a year later running as well. So this is one point which is for us as well interesting, the question, when you do a lot of experiments, do they interact with each other? So I showed the cumulative uplift, for example. Can you really summarize it every time? Till when? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Isn't there sometimes a baseline where you have to improve more and can't edit it up? So this is the questions we're having, but in terms of seasonality and some other variables, we're very good at excluding them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So more questions. Who wants to know more from Thorsten? Yes, please.
Yeah, hi, Tino.
Hi.
One question. You talked about customer journey mapping and maps, and using this tool. Do you make it transparent to the departments? Is it obviously where any conversion rate breaks are combining with real data, or how you handle this?
So when you're talking about departments, so of course we have the typical departments at Verivox. So there are finance guys, there are key accounters, there are marketing guys, product management guys, design guys, etc. We are working in these teams, and for example, the broadband team, totally cross-functional. So in this case, we have business unit in an organizational perspective, and we have a business unit telecommunication, and one product there is broadband. And in this broadband team, every department is working together. So they are working in one team, and for them it's totally obvious. And they have, I may be wrong, but every quarter at least they are looking at the status, what they improved, what not, what they are doing, what they want to do, if there are other ideas. So a lot of alignment talking about that one. But at the end, the prioritization I mentioned before is always based on the impact we think will come. So yes, they are totally aware of this, And this is one of the crucial key points, in my opinion, that they are aware of this. Because when they wouldn't, we would have the same discussions about prioritization, about like, today in the shower, I had a great idea, and you have to do this right away. You would have these discussions exactly. Of course, sometimes you have these discussions as well, but usually you have these discussions for the whole company. What impact we're generating by X or by Z. So everybody is knowing about this. The problem is more, and the question is how much transparency should be there, that we're doing not only for the cross-functional team who are working on the product broadband comparison. The question is more, should other business unit participate, which are also cross-functional? So we have the energy products, for example. Is it maybe relevant for you what experiments we did, and can you learn from them and maybe adapt something and improve your conversion rate as well? I think there we have room for improvement, but on the departments, there is total transparency.
So one follow-up question from my side. So you mentioned the different departments, energy and so on. So how is the product team structured at Verivox? So is it for the different verticals? Is there a team for every vertical, a PO, a PM? Or so could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So what we have there at Verivox is, when I talk about departments, I mean usually like the finance departments, the communications departments, the key account managers, the marketing, so social media marketing, brand marketing, performance marketing, etc. This is when I talk about departments, about functions, this is what I mean. And these functions are in their value streams, in their verticals, you said so. And these verticals at Verivox are, for example, energy, telecommunication, some horizontals as well, but these are the verticals. And in one of these verticals, and this is telecommunication, what I talked about here, they have basically two products, mobile speech and broadband comparison. Mm-hmm. And both of these products have basically all value-driven functions in there. What I mean by this, they have product managers, they have designers, they have an agile coach, they have developers, they have QA-lists, they have marketing guys, they have key accounters, they have finance guys, so they have data analysts or business analysts. So they are working, as mentioned before, totally cross-functional, because we think we're maximizing the value in this case when they're working right away cross-functional together, and not only the small part, the Scrum team analogy, because then you're usually coming in this demand management sector, and you usually have a lot of discussions, and you're not feeling as one team, and you're not winning or losing as a team, and this makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We have some time left for questions. Someone wants to have a follow-on question? So I would have one question. You had this nice table there with all the different features you had, the different experiments you run. So can you share probably the one feature you changed which had the heaviest impact on the conversion rate? Was there one thing in your career at Verivox where you probably say this is by far the best test we made and the uplift for the conversion was massive?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because we are doing a lot of tests, which one was the most valuable. But what I can say, improving the conversion rate in general over 1 year from existing products who were there for 20 years by 20%, it's really huge. I would give you an example, and this is the simplified wording on the offer page. And it's only, and this is the point, this is only a simplified wording. And that's it. So
that's
I'm not totally sure what it was, but I think it's about the call to action. Feel free to correct me here as well. And the call to action wording to do it differently, and it has massive impact. So it's not only about the big things, not only about the huge usability issues or huge user experience issues you are solving. It often is. But sometimes it is the small things which improve your product and making it obviously better, and so you solve the customer problems and you're making more money. seems to be a good combination.
Yeah, that's interesting with the label of the button sometimes.
It's totally
So we
strange.
have a very interesting talk today as well on UX writing from a colleague from Breuninger. So there will be this also a heavy topic. So any more questions here? So if not, thank you very much for being with us. So the team of Verivox, they are there at their booths. So don't be shy, approach them. They don't bite, so you can talk with them about all the things around the product. Thank you very much, Thorsten. A big applause for Thorsten.